In this video, we're going to be going through some basic puppet pinning effects. So, if you can load in the Illustrator Bird AI file from your pack and put that in this footage for the first time, and we're just going to go through how you can right click this and get a create and convert shapes from vector layer. So you can see doing it this first way, because of the way the AI file is actually split up into layers. When you break it down with that right click, it will give you one layer with a load of different groups of shapes in. This is great if you just wanted to manipulate the shapes like that and you didn't want to add effects to different parts of it, but we do, so we actually want to undo this. And when we bring this in, we need to bring it in as a composition, not as footage. So import file, and find the AI file and change that footage to composition, retain layer sizes, and hit open. Then we're going to do exactly the same. You can see all the layers already in there as they're in vector files. I'm just going to switch this around so it's in the right order and come in and go to create shapes from vector layer, and then you can see it's created a separate layer for each of these shapes. So now I'm just going to quickly delete the AI files because we don't need them in our composition, and we can get started on making this animation. So with that done then, we're going to start to come in and I'm going to use a basic linear wipe effect to give the impression that these obviously strokes are coming in. So if we look up linear wipe and just drop that onto the front of the beak there, and you can see it's just put on whatever its stock effect does. We'll put transparency up. So it's going backwards at the moment, so that's something we've got to change. And it's obviously like a hard wipe and filling in, which we also don't want. So first things first, let's just go in and sort our keyframes out. So you can see it puts in these automatically. So we're just going to flip round what 0 and 100 is. So we're starting at 0 and ending at 100, and then let's actually start it on our first frame, which would help. And we're going to change the angle to the other way around and just move that over. So now you can see it wipes the correct way. So we're just going to copy this effect onto the secondary beak layer, the lighter blue that's behind it, and paste it, and then you can see now that comes in together. So it's okay, but it's obviously quite harsh, so we need to add some kind of softening into this so it kind of blends in together. So we can just do this on the effect itself. So if we come into this now and just open up our feather, I'm just going to do that by 50 pixels or so, and we'll see how that looks, and we'll just jump that over on another effect as well. We can see what these look like. There we go. So that's looking a lot smoother, and there's a good basis to start making this animation come together. So from here we're just going to apply that linear wipe effect throughout our composition, so on all these individual layers. And we're just going to skip ahead, and you can see when that's done. So what I've done here is apply that linear wipe, so roughly times with the rest of the beak animation. And then I've just renamed all of these layers so it's easy to tell which one it is, and just pre-comped the first two, that beak layer, and that's all. And I've also just added a slow scale growth to all of it, so starting at 70 and just coming in at 100 when the end of the fade comes in. So, and this just helps with the kind of like easing of the wings coming in, just adding that like subtle scale increase as it kind of fades through. So to enhance that effect, we're actually going to use something called the puppet pin effect. And you can see here I've already kind of got it applied on my wings, so I'm just going to turn this back on and then show you how to do it, so you've seen an end result first. So I turn this all back on. You can see as the animation comes in, everything kind of grows and like subtly moves into position and gives the impression that the wingspan's coming through. So if I just turn off the visibility of the rest of the layers and just focus on the beak, you can see the puppet pin dots that I've added in. So with just the beak pre-comp showing, you can have a look at what it looks like without the puppet pin animation. And then if we just turn this on, you'll see that kind of slow growth that happens with the use of the puppet pin tool. So, and you can see when I click on it, you get those 3 pins, or as they're called, that you can be moved around. So if we just turn off the visibility of that, and we'll just put a new one on so I can show you how to do it. So we'll come up to the toolbar and grab the puppet pin tool, and just select at the front, at the back there, and then one down near the end of the tail. And what these little pins do is allow you to animate and just move and drag some areas of your layers around. So it essentially creates like a mesh in between. And you can see it will just automatically add these keyframes in as I push those, the kind of beak down and move the tail in. So it just adds that slow little bit of growth at the end of the animation. So if we just change this so it's a little bit more subtle, and there's only a small amount that's animating over a longer time, there you go. That sort of growth that comes through just helps kind of sell that the logo, the bird logo, is kind of coming to life, if you will. You can see it without, and then you can see it with. So that's how the puppet pen tool works. So this is what we're going to do now to the rest of our layers, and just to help add in that kind of a little bit of extra energy into this logo animation. And if we take a look with the rest of the layers finished, and there we have it, you can see it here. This is what it looks like when you've got the puppet pin applied to all layers. You've got that kind of slow growth at the end there, just kind of picking the wings up and out. So it looks okay, but I think we need to add another effect to really kind of sell the start of this motion. So we've kind of got how it's going to end, but to make it appear that these like kind of waves aren't just fading in, they're actually coming from something with a bit more movement. We're going to add in another effect. But so we don't have to do this to a million layers, we're just going to quickly pre-comp a lot of this together, so we're only working with like 2 or 3 layers. So if we go ahead and do that now, and so this is my tidied up file, so you can see I've just come through and I've linked together, apart from the top of the wing, the kind of lower, different sets of lower parts of the wing and the tail feathers, and the beak that was obviously done before and renamed it. And what you can see here now is kind of the stage of the animation where I've added in something called a CC flow effect to each of these layers. And you can see if we look at the tail feather layer exactly how this is working. So you've got these 2 knots, they're called, and if I just come in here and I'm just going to turn off all the other effects on the tail feather so we can see what's going on. So you've got these knots that you can see with the rest of the effects off, it's kind of like growing away from it. So essentially how it creates like a kind of a liquid flowy effect. And if I have no amount on it, nothing's going to happen. And you can see as I increase the amount, it draws it towards or away, depending on if it's plus or minus. So I'm using this effect to give kind of more movement in the animation. And you can see it here as it just starts to flow out. So it's just accentuating that kind of flowy motion and adding to what the puppet pin was doing before. So if we look at putting this effect on dry, and then you guys can copy that through for the rest of your project. So if we just jump back over to my original project with it before I tidied it up, and I'm just going to get rid of the rest of the layers, so we're only looking at the beak, so we're just easy to concentrate. So just get rid of the rest of the visibility so we can just look at the beak and concentrate on that. So if I now grab my pre-comp, get rid of the rest of the effects so we can see exactly what it's doing, then drop the CC flow motion effect on it. So when we pop this on, you can see you've got these 2 knots, and there's something, this is a mount next to it. And what they do is essentially drag and push and pull, or however you want to say it. And what they do is essentially drag and slide your layer towards or away from them, depending on which way you go. So you can see here, if I put it down at the bottom of the tail and turn off the tiling, so it doesn't go everywhere, it'll essentially create like motion as if it's coming from there and being pulled towards or pushed away. So essentially create motion as if it's being pushed out from there. So we can go and play with the amounts and kind of see what we like, just adding a bit of motion from our start point. So around 50 is quite a lot, so maybe I'll see what that looks like, and then with the rest of the effects on. So that's still looking quite strong, so I think I'm probably going to turn that down to maybe around 30%, and then we'll take a look and see how that's doing. Yeah, that looks much better. So I'm happy with that. And now if we just go into our other composition where everything's tidied up, we can add this effect to the rest of those condensed layers. Here is the final composition with the flowing effect and puppet pin tools applied, and hopefully you can see how and why you might want to use these techniques in your animations.